Seoul, February 29, 2028. The city lights are glowing, setting the stage for a reunion that's been years in the making. Glasses clink together in a loud, celebratory toast, signaling the start of a night that's definitely going to get messy. The crew is reminiscing about their escape from the mysterious ninja, wondering if it's been 8 or 9 years since they broke free. Nam Wurai keeps it cool with that signature smirk, dropping the classic line that life is just something you have to endure. Our boy Wurai is living large as a celebrity, hosting the whole squad for his birthday and footing the bill for the night. He's leaning back, looking every bit the star, claiming that since he only finished high school, these guys are his only real family. Gukmin chimes in with some playful shade, acting surprised that the famous influencer even remembers his name after all this time. The group starts digging into why Wurai is actually famous, clearly out of the loop on his massive social media influence. Turns out he's a Minstar star on Minsus, raking in ad deals because he's rich, good-looking, and actually knows how to dress. Someone at the table calls him out for his effortless success, wondering if he even tried to make it big or just got lucky. Wurai just sits there with that smug look, letting the accusation that he is purely lucky slide right off his back. He breaks it down for us, admitting he basically coasted through life on a golden path paved by his parents. No crazy athletic skills or genius-level intellect here, just a guy who hit the genetic and financial jackpot from day one. Born to wealthy landowners overseas, he grew up living the high life in a literal tropical paradise. Being the miracle-only child meant he was treated like royalty, constantly showered with affection and attention from everyone around him. He was spoiled rotten, throwing tantrums for cars and houses while his parents just handed him whatever he wanted. Because when you are that loaded, the word impossible just doesn't exist in your vocabulary. The only real catch to his perfect life is that his birthday only rolls around once every 4 years. Everyone calls him a lucky boy who just stumbled into success, but honestly he doesn't even care. He steps out into the dark alley, lighting a cigarette and spitting out his true feelings about those pathetic, money-hungry leeches. A pair of shoes steps into the frame, cutting the vibe with a cold, sharp greeting. Wurai just stands there, cigarette dangling, completely unfazed by the sudden interruption in his private smoke break. He turns to face the intruder, a store employee who looks like he's ready to throw hands over a little smoke. The guy doesn't mince words, straight up telling Wurai that his cigarette smoke is drifting right into the store. Wurai is visibly annoyed, wondering who this random worker thinks he is to talk down to him like that. He plays it off with a fake, sarcastic apology while internally roasting the audacity of a bar that bans outdoor smoking. The employee just turns his back, totally unimpressed by Wurai's celebrity status or his attitude. Watching the guy walk away, Wurai is left stunned by the sheer disrespect of being dismissed so quickly. Something about the way the guy carries himself hits a nerve, feeling way too familiar for comfort. He stares into the distance, realizing that the mysterious all-black outfit is triggering some deep, buried memories he can't quite place. The squad is pressing Wurai on his signature accessory, dying to know where that mysterious necklace actually came from. He pulls it out with a grin, acting like it's just some random trinket he's been rocking since high school. Turns out it is an ancient-looking totem, a supposed family heirloom his grandma gifted his mom for health and longevity. He starts rambling about the lore behind it, trying to sound deep while clearly struggling to remember the exact details. Then he drops a dark joke about his own fortune, claiming the thing is meant to stop him from dying young. Suddenly, the vibe shatters as a glass hits the floor, leaving the table in a state of total shock. His friends are quick to roast him for being a total mess, calling him out for not knowing his own limits. Wurai just laughs it off, acting like a total jerk by saying the staff is literally paid to clean up his trash. The tension spikes when the employee steps in, calling out Wurai's privilege and asking if he has ever worked a real job. Our boy doubles down on his elitist mindset, straight up calling manual labor inefficient and beneath someone of his status. Wurai is absolutely feeling himself, bragging that one single post pays more than most people make in a whole year. He tries to walk it back with a fake laugh, claiming he wouldn't want to steal someone else's job. But that smug energy is still radiating off him while he keeps the conversation centered on his own ego. Suddenly, he catches a glimpse of someone familiar, and his entire demeanor shifts into a weird, intense recognition. The guy he's looking at is clearly taken aback, staring back with those striking blue eyes in total shock. Wurai loses his cool, shouting out the name Shin Subin like he just found a long-lost toy. He starts rambling about their shared history at Daehan High, acting like they were best buds back in the day. The rest of the table is totally lost, wondering who this random guy is and why Wurai is acting so manic. He keeps pushing the narrative, making a big deal out of the fact that they share the exact same birthday. But the second he brings up Subin's younger sibling, the air in the room turns ice cold and hostile. Wurai tries to stop Subin from walking away, clearly not realizing how much he's pushing his luck. He pulls out his wallet with a smug grin, ready to throw money at the problem like it's some kind of magic fix. A thick stack of cash is shoved right into Subin's personal space, a total power move meant to belittle him. Subin's eyes narrow with a cold, piercing intensity that would make anyone else back the hell off. He mentions buying cake for his little sibling, trying to ground himself against Wurai's condescending display of wealth. The money is offered up again, a pathetic attempt to buy a reaction or maybe just some cheap validation. Wurai laughs it off as a joke, trying to frame his blatant disrespect as just some casual, friendly banter. That fake, plastered-on smile is doing zero work to hide the fact that he's being an absolute menace. Subin just stands there, radiating pure, unadulterated rage while the air around him feels like it's literally warping. He walks away without a word, leaving Wurai to act like he's totally oblivious to the bridge he just burned. Wurai is literally white-knuckling his fist, trying to play off his obsession with Subin as some twisted form of kindness. He claims they're just acting shy after all this time, but the dark, swirling void in the panel says otherwise. Our guy is still pushing the birthday angle, dropping extra cash like he's buying a soul instead of a drink. Subin isn't having any of it, coldly acknowledging the money while keeping his distance from the toxic celebrity. Wurai keeps up the condescending act, telling the kid to toughen up and stop moping about his missing sibling. Subin finally snaps back with a polite but firm goodbye, effectively cutting the cord on their entire messed-up history. The audacity of this guy is unreal, as Wurai demands to know the real reason behind the sudden resignation. Subin just brushes him off with a cryptic comment about moving to a better neighborhood, leaving Wurai in the dust. Stumbling around like a total lightweight, Wurai is more worried about his lost car keys than the bridge he just nuked. He stands there looking absolutely clueless, wondering if the guy just took his money and dipped like a pro. Wurai stands in the alley, his silhouette framed by a harsh street lamp as he confronts the mysterious figure. He recognizes the guy immediately, blurting out a name like he's just bumped into an old high school buddy. The stranger remains cold, prompting Wurai to mockingly ask if he's hit the jackpot or just got lucky lately. Our influencer keeps up the condescending act, questioning if the guy is actually as impressive as he pretends to be. Suddenly, a sharp, glinting blade appears in the stranger's hand, cutting through the tension with a lethal edge. Wurai recoils, his hands raised in a defensive gesture as he realizes the situation is spiraling out of control. He stares at the weapon in disbelief, wondering if this guy is actually insane enough to start a fight. The stranger steps forward, his boots clicking on the pavement as he clearly struggles to process Wurai's arrogance. Wurai breaks into a manic, drunken laugh, claiming he is totally sober and that their past drama is ancient history. But that laughter is cut short by a brutal, lightning-fast slap that sends his head snapping to the side. Wurai is absolutely spiraling, his face a mess of blood and pure, unadulterated terror. He's staring up at Subin, who is looming over him like a dark, vengeful shadow. A sudden, violent strike connects, sending Wurai reeling as the situation turns from bad to worse. That precious totem necklace finally snaps off, clattering onto the ground as his world falls apart. He's begging for his life now, screaming at the universe to save him from this nightmare. Money is flying out of his mouth as he desperately tries to bribe his way out. The necklace lies abandoned on the cold pavement, a silent witness to the carnage unfolding. Subin stands tall, his boots framing the fallen heirloom while he questions Wurai's pathetic memory. He leans in close, reminding the influencer that he asked for this confrontation. Cold and detached, Subin shuts down the conversation, leaving Wurai to rot in his own bad luck. Wurai's eyes widen in absolute horror as he catches a glimpse of the blade reflecting in his own pupil. The world feels like it's governed by some twisted, inescapable laws that he never bothered to learn until now. He's limping through the crowd, completely broken, realizing that every single move he makes just drags him deeper into this mess. Everything he tries to do to fix his life just backfires, pushing him further toward a fate he can't escape. He's left reeling in the dark, wondering what he could have possibly done to deserve this kind of cosmic punishment. The pain is blinding, and he's desperately wishing for just one chance to make things right before it's too late. He's clutching his chest, cursing his family for leaving him with nothing but a cryptic, useless warning. He's spiraling into a dark void, replaying the moment of his own death over and over in his head. His mother's voice echoes from the past, reminding him that the ring was his only real lifeline. She's telling him to treat that totem like a part of his own body, warning him that leap day is lethal. Wurai's mom is back, dropping that heavy prophecy about the seventh since birth being the ultimate breaking point. Suddenly the world starts spinning, and Wurai is plummeting through a trippy, clockwork void like he's falling out of time itself. He wakes up in a total daze, hiccuping and looking completely lost while someone screams his name in his face. The scene shifts to a high school classroom, and he's sitting there, totally confused by the sudden change in scenery. He's staring at a classmate, trying to process if this is a memory or some weird, glitchy reality. His desk buddy is giving him a hard time, acting like he's been asleep for way too long. Wurai is spiraling, questioning why this high school memory feels so damn vivid and real right now. His mom pops back into his head, ordering his friend to smack him and snap him out of his trance. He's left sitting there, wide-eyed and terrified, wondering if he's actually losing his grip on what's real. Then a voice cuts through the silence, demanding his attention and pulling him deeper into the loop. Subin stares him down with those icy blue eyes, dropping a cold command to just snap out of it and live. But Wurai is completely losing his mind, gasping for air while the reality of his situation hits like a freight train. He's sitting there in a daze, trying to make sense of the nightmare unfolding right in front of his face. Memories of that psychopathic killer stabbing him to death flash back, making the present moment feel like a total death trap. He's clutching his head, letting out a pained groan as the physical and mental toll starts to really pile up. Scrambling to his feet, he bolts out of the room like his life depends on it, leaving everyone behind. The rest of the class is just gossiping, totally oblivious to the fact that he's having a full-blown mental breakdown. A teacher catches up to him in the hallway, demanding to know if the kid is actually okay. She tries to force him toward the infirmary, but the physical contact just makes his internal panic spiral even further. She starts slapping him to get a reaction, while Wurai wonders if he's finally gone completely insane. Wurai is spiraling, realizing his skin is completely unblemished. He stares at the teacher, desperately trying to process why his past scars have vanished. The confusion is eating him alive as he questions his own sanity. He wonders if this is some sick, twisted hallucination or a genuine trip through time. Checking his phone, he sees the date is locked in 2018. He watches his old friends eating lunch, looking exactly like they did a decade ago. His buddy Kang is totally oblivious, just wondering why Wurai is acting so weirdly dizzy. He can't wrap his head around the fact that he's back at the school gate. He realizes his protective totem necklace is missing, leaving him feeling completely exposed. He's left wondering if some cosmic force actually dragged him back from the dead. Wurai is sitting in the cafeteria, dropping the absolute bombshell that he's from the future. He's basically begging his friends to believe his insane story, calling them out for their skepticism. Looking totally stressed, he insists that he was living in 2028 before waking up back here. He's genuinely spiraling, questioning if any of this makes sense while his friends watch him unravel. Gukmin jumps in with a sarcastic grin, immediately challenging him to predict the fall baseball games. Wurai is clearly not playing games, doubling down on his seriousness while the mood gets awkward. His friends start roasting him for his lack of foresight, pointing out how useless a time traveler is without winning lottery numbers. The girl at the table isn't buying it for a second, demanding actual proof before she entertains his delusions. Subin just stares him down with those cold, piercing blue eyes, radiating pure, unadulterated judgment. Suddenly, Wurai faceplants right into his lunch, hit by the crushing, traumatic memory that he was actually dead. Wurai is straight up choking on his drink, spraying it everywhere like a total amateur. He's internally spiraling, thinking about how unfair and frustrating this whole situation feels right now. The narrative shifts to Shin Subin, the guy who's basically a walking red flag with a knife. Turns out back in elementary school, this dude was the undisputed king of the playground brawls. He used to be a total menace, but now he's just a ghost with zero presence. His classmates are laughing it off, totally oblivious to the dark energy he's actually packing. Subin is just trying to catch some Z's, clearly fed up with the noise and the losers around him. He's got that cold, killer stare, basically implying that anyone bothering him is just asking for a world of hurt. Wurai is lurking in the hallway, acting like he's stumbled into a horror movie set. His friends are busy trashing Subin for being a lazy, tough guy, completely unaware they're poking a sleeping dragon. Wurai is straight up downplaying the situation, acting like he's got everything under control while dismissing the threat. He's trying to convince himself that his old connection to the guy is enough to keep him safe. But he's clearly just projecting his own insecurity by telling others to go easy on the guy. The narrative flashes back to a time when everything seemed normal and the crew was just hanging out. Back then, he was just another face in the crowd, totally disconnected from the drama that would eventually consume him. He's realizing that his past self was blissfully ignorant, never bothering to get involved in anyone else's business. Looking back at those childhood memories, he realizes they were actually closer than he ever cared to admit. Now he's standing in his room, staring at the reality of his second chance and the weight of his future. He's trying to laugh off the trauma, but the cracks in his sanity are showing as he keeps repeating that he isn't scared. He's literally punching his own pillows in a manic fit, trying to convince himself he can dominate his own fate. Wurai's hand presses against the wall, feeling a weird phantom sensation that something is definitely not right. He stares at his own wrist in total disbelief, noticing a digital-looking mark that wasn't there before. Rubbing the skin frantically, he realizes the mysterious 6 symbol is permanently etched into his flesh. He tries to scrub it off, but the mark stays put, mocking his desperate attempt to erase the evidence. Laughing to himself, he brushes off the trauma of his past death as if it were just a bad dream. He decides that being alive is the only thing that actually matters in this bizarre second chance. Back in the classroom, Gukmin watches him with a confused look, wondering what the hell is going on. Wurai sits there in his hoodie, completely zoned out and looking like a total mess to everyone around him. His classmate stares at him with pure judgment, clearly annoyed by his weird, antisocial behavior in the middle of class. Gukmin finally snaps, calling him out for his erratic actions and asking if he's actually about to throw up again. Wurai is looking absolutely wrecked, muttering about how his stomach feels like a total disaster zone. His classmates are trying to drag him to moving class, but the poor guy is clearly on the verge of puking. He's begging them to tell the gym teacher he's sick, desperate to avoid the upcoming performance evaluation. Standing there looking like a ghost, he's completely overwhelmed by the sheer nausea of just existing in this timeline. He's literally hunched over a toilet in the bathroom, thinking this is a new level of hell. Just looking at people makes him want to lose his lunch, which is a massive red flag for his mental state. He's drooling and spiraling, wondering if this is what people actually mean when they talk about party PTSD. He's questioning how much longer he can keep up this charade before he finally snaps for good. Shin Subin walks up with that cold, dead stare, asking if it's gross to keep an orphan kid around. Wurai is left completely stunned, while Subin drops the bombshell that he honestly just wants to kill him. Wurai is absolutely spiraling, his eyes wide with the realization that his second chance is already turning into a nightmare. He's caught in a mental loop of pure panic, wondering if the crisis he escaped is already hunting him down. He desperately tries to get his friends to talk about Shin Subin, hoping to find some logic in the madness. But his buddies are just chilling on the stairs, completely oblivious to the fact that their classmate is a ticking time bomb. They hit him with the reality check that Subin is just a guy, though Wurai knows better than to underestimate that psycho. He's trying to dig through his foggy memories, searching for any reason why he might have triggered such intense hatred. His friends just laugh it off, telling him he was acting like a total clown back in the day. That revelation hits him like a truck. Did he really make himself a target just by being a massive idiot? He's clinging to the hope that Subin's hatred is just a petty annoyance, because the alternative is way too terrifying. But then the shadow looms over him, and that brutal label of being an orphan bastard proves the threat is real. Subin drops the most chilling line imaginable, stating flat out that he just wants to kill him. Wurai is absolutely shook, realizing that the dark history he's trapped in has a terrifying precedent. His internal monologue is a total mess, linking this threat to his own weird, recurring morning sickness. He admits he's got a violent urge to just beat the hell out of the guy for that. His classmates are totally clueless, claiming they haven't really talked to the guy much at all. They find the whole situation pretty scary, calling out the fact that Wurai's sudden shift is totally unexpected. Wurai is acting completely oblivious, wondering why they think he's been messing with the guy lately. He's playing the victim, swearing he never even touched the guy while his friends tell him to be nicer. Realizing his past avoidance looked like bullying, he starts panicking about whether he should just apologize right now. He decides that staying away is the smart play, but he can't help himself and calls out to Subin anyway. Wurai tries to play it cool, leaning in close to Subin like they're just two bros catching up. But the mood instantly shifts as Subin drops the hammer, confirming he's dead set on ending him. The next second, Wurai is flat on the floor, getting a cold warning to watch his back. He's left dazed and bleeding, wondering how he managed to get back on that psycho's radar so fast. Then the memory of the blade flashes, a brutal, visceral reminder of the violence he's trying to outrun. He's spiraling, realizing he's trapped in a cycle where death is always lurking just around the corner. Back in the present, he's got that hollow, thousand-yard stare, accepting the grim reality of his situation. Subin is looking just as cold, clearly not planning on letting this whole thing slide anytime soon. A pile of snacks sits on the desk, a pathetic contrast to the life-or-death tension filling the room. And with one final, icy look, Subin makes it clear that the hunt is officially back on. Wurai is straight up cornering Subin at his desk, demanding he just eat the snack he brought. He plays it off like he just grabbed whatever was cheap at the shop, acting super casual. Wurai even tries to make small talk about the stickers inside, acting like they're just normal classmates. He holds up a sticker that looks suspiciously like a cartoon killer, laughing it off as a joke. Then he shifts gears, dropping the act to get serious about something he needs to say. He puts on his best performance, clasping his hands together and begging for forgiveness with a fake, desperate apology. He claims he hasn't been feeling great lately, blaming his weird behavior on bad timing and misunderstandings. Wurai insists that if he actually hated Subin, he wouldn't even bother trying to make things right. He keeps pushing the narrative, looking visibly sweaty and stressed while trying to sell this total lie. He finally drops the bomb, asking to be friends again while Subin just stares in cold silence. Wurai is sweating bullets, eyes wide with pure, unadulterated panic as he tries to force his offering onto the guy. Subin just stares back with those cold, dead eyes, questioning why he would ever accept a handout from someone like him. He keeps his cool, pointing out that trading gifts doesn't magically fix the massive rift between them. Wurai is desperately backpedaling, trying to smooth over his previous hostility by admitting he totally lost his cool earlier. He's rambling now, tripping over his own words while trying to keep the vibe from hitting rock bottom. The influencer tries to play the sympathy card, bringing up social status to see if he can strike a nerve. He's practically begging for a truce, offering his help for the future just to get out of this death trap. A classmate interrupts the tension, calling for them to move on to the next class and killing the momentum. Wurai seizes the chance to bail, waving goodbye with a fake, plastered-on smile that screams he's terrified. He slides the door shut, leaving a brooding Subin alone in the silence to contemplate his next move. Wurai is walking through the halls with his crew, laughing it off like he finally cracked the code. He's thinking that playing it cool and acting normal is the ultimate cheat code for surviving this loop. With that weight finally off his shoulders, he starts breaking down the lessons he's learned while moving forward. First, he realizes nobody is buying his time-traveling sob story, so he's just gonna accept the delusion. Second, that weird digital 6 mark on his wrist is still there, mocking him like a permanent glitch. He's still trying to show it to his friends, but they're just staring back like he's lost his marbles. Third, he's officially given up on trying to be besties with Shin Subin since the guy is stone cold. He's totally fine with them being strangers, figuring there's zero profit in getting involved with a ticking time bomb. But just as he's trying to move on and live a fresh life, the universe decides to throw a curveball. And suddenly, a soccer ball smacks right into a student's face, signaling that the chaos is officially back on. A soccer ball nails some random kid in the head, and Wurai just laughs it off like it's a comedy show. He's fully convinced that Shin Subin is just cursed with the worst luck in the entire school. But then the universe decides to get creative, dumping a literal bucket of water on Subin from above. The poor guy is standing there soaking wet, looking absolutely defeated while the water drips off his face. Wurai watches the scene unfold, his expression shifting from amusement to a weird, unsettling kind of realization. He's starting to connect the dots, realizing that these constant accidents aren't just random bad luck anymore. The weight of it all hits him, and he mutters that this is the 5th time he's seen this. His eyes widen as the gravity of the situation sinks in, turning his world into a dark, suffocating void. He realizes these aren't just isolated incidents, but a recurring pattern that's becoming impossible to ignore. The cycle is tightening around him, and he finally understands that this nightmare is no longer just someone else's problem. Wurai snaps awake with a violent gasp, his eyes wide and darting around like he's seen a ghost. He's lying in the infirmary bed, completely disoriented and huffing for air while his classmates hover over him. The guys are clearly rattled by his sudden outburst, wondering why he's acting so damn erratic and stressed. He's clutching his head, still reeling from the phantom pain of his latest death, and honestly, he's barely holding it together. Trying to mask his absolute terror, he forces a relaxed smile and tells everyone he's totally fine. He brushes off the concern, claiming that getting hit by random accidents is just a normal part of life. His friends are still hovering, clearly skeptical, but eventually deciding to back off and leave him to his recovery. He keeps up the act, acting like a total clown to deflect from the fact that he's spiraling. They awkwardly confirm they were just worried friends, though the vibe in the room is still incredibly tense. He stares into the distance, his eyes locking onto something that makes him freeze in total chilling confusion. Wurai is absolutely losing it, demanding his friends apologize to Shin Subin for being total jerks. His classmates look completely confused, having no clue who that even is or why they should care. He tries to brush off his own erratic behavior as just some random, meaningless nonsense. Forcing a manic, wide-eyed grin, he insists they should all just try to be friends with the guy. His friends just exchange looks, clearly thinking he took one too many hits to the head. He drops the facade for a second, admitting with a dark smirk that he actually died and returned. Showing off the mysterious mark on his wrist, he confirms that he's officially back from the past. Sitting alone on the infirmary bed, he dismisses his own trauma as nothing more than a minor blooper. He laughs off the idea that he ever thought these lethal accidents were just a simple coincidence. But his smile turns hollow as he realizes that if this cycle keeps repeating, he's truly doomed. Wurai is standing there looking like a total disaster with a bucket stuck on his head. He's apologizing profusely while the absurdity of his situation hits a new, pathetic low. He's fully convinced that Shin Subin is the mastermind behind every single one of his problems. Back in the teacher's office, he's confirming his plans to transfer schools with a dead-eyed stare. He's looking like he's been through a war, nursing his injuries while trying to explain his sudden departure. He tells the teacher that the school environment is toxic and he just doesn't belong here anymore. The teacher is clearly concerned, asking if he's heading home to his parents to sort this out. He brushes off the idea of family, claiming he's got bigger plans like becoming a celebrity at an art school. He's acting like he's got some hidden talent, but the teacher is rightfully questioning his sanity and his prospects. Finally, he drops the absolute bombshell that he's actually a time traveler from the future. Wurai is struggling to find the right words, his brain clearly fried from the trauma. He tells the teacher that back in his normal school days, he never once got hurt. The teacher looks completely exhausted, pointing out how many times he's been to the infirmary lately. She knows something is seriously wrong with his story, and she's not letting him off the hook. Wurai finally spills the beans, admitting he died and somehow ended up back in the past. He describes the brutal stabbing that ended his life, claiming his killer is sitting in their class right now. The teacher calls Subin over, and Wurai is visibly losing his mind at how fast she reacted. Subin stands there with that icy, dead-eyed stare, completely unfazed by the insane accusation being thrown his way. The teacher puts him on the spot, asking if there's actually a criminal hiding in their classroom. Subin just looks at them, totally cold, and denies having any clue what they are talking about. Subin stares back with those icy eyes, basically telling Wurai that if his life is a train wreck, there's gotta be a reason. He hits him with that cold logic, implying that maybe the problem isn't the world but the guy living in it. Wurai is absolutely losing his mind, screaming about the twisted logic of being accused of bullying when he's the one dying. He's practically vibrating with rage, thanking the teacher for not letting that nonsense stop his transfer. The scene cuts to a hilarious Chibai-style flashback where he's getting kicked out of his old life. He's literally crawling away, but he's hyped as hell because he's finally making that clean break. Back in the present, he's standing in the new school, feeling like he finally escaped the murder-filled hellscape of his past. He's soaking in the vibe, loving the new desk, and the fact that he's finally free from those lethal, cursed accidents. He's convinced the atmosphere here is perfect, finally ready to live a normal life without looking over his shoulder. And just like that, he's officially cut ties with the past, holding his graduation flowers like he's finally won the game. Someone is holding out a contract, dead serious about the massive opportunity waiting for our boy. The Jotum boys are out here living their best lives, clinking glasses and celebrating their hard-earned peace. Wurai is chilling with his vape, acting like he's finally left the stress of the past behind. He's fully leaned into the idol life, flashing that million-dollar smile for the cameras like a total pro. Fans are lining up to gush over him, totally unaware that their favorite idol is just a traumatized survivor. He's playing along with the fan service, but deep down, the memories of his past are starting to itch. The birthday talk hits him like a brick, forcing him to question what exactly happened on that date. He's staring into the void of 2028, realizing that his peaceful facade is about to crack wide open. A massive subway ad for his birthday stares back at him, a haunting reminder of his celebrity status. The reality of his cycle finally catches up, and he's forced to confront the nightmare he tried to bury. Total chaos erupts in the room, with everyone scrambling to figure out what just went down. Someone is lying flat on the floor, completely unresponsive and not even taking a breath. The panic is real as the crew screams for emergency services to get there right now. Wurai is back in the cycle, staring into the abyss as his consciousness slowly drifts back. He's waking up in the infirmary again, looking like he's been through a total meat grinder. He's clearly struggling to process the reality of the situation, still dazed from the latest reset. The realization hits him like a ton of bricks that he's back at the school gate. He's bolting out of the room, desperate to escape the suffocating walls of this cursed place. His face is a mask of pure, unadulterated terror as his mind starts to completely unravel. He's grabbing his friends, begging for answers while his sanity hangs by the thinnest of threads. Wurai is straight up grabbing this girl by the face, totally losing his cool in the middle of class. The whole room is buzzing with whispers as everyone watches the drama unfold. Gukmin and the girl are just sitting there, looking completely unbothered while they gossip and paint their nails. Suddenly, Wurai takes a massive hit to the head, looking like he's about to snap from the sheer absurdity. He's acting like a total clown in a Chibai-style meltdown, while his classmates just laugh at his expense. Shin Subin is just chilling in the background, looking bored out of his mind while the chaos peaks. He takes a slow, deliberate bite of his snack, completely ignoring the absolute disaster happening right next to him. Wurai is left sniffling and spiraling, his eyes welling up as the weight of his pathetic situation hits home. He's trapped in a mental game, comparing his life to some low-budget village simulator while the threat of the knife looms. He stares at that cursed digital number on his wrist, finally admitting he's completely given up on tracking the count. Wurai is absolutely losing his mind, clutching his head like his brain is about to explode from the sheer trauma. He's haunted by a twisted vision of his own past, seeing himself as a shadow looming over his own broken spirit. He tries to play it cool on the stairs, acting like he's got no leads while his internal panic is peaking. But then the reality of the situation comes crashing down as he gets physically shoved, feeling the cold weight of his failure. He's spiraling at the bar, questioning what kind of hellish future awaits him if he can't break this cycle. He's literally pointing at the blood on the floor, demanding to know why everyone is looking down on him like he's trash. A mysterious 3 marker flashes in the dark, signaling that he's deeper into this nightmare than he ever imagined. He's lying there broken and bleeding, realizing that his second chance is just another path to the same miserable end. That digital countdown in his eye is ticking down with terrifying precision, mocking his desperate struggle to survive. And just like that, he's drifting into the void, falling through a purple abyss as the loop resets once again. Wurai is hitting rock bottom, his eyes wide with the desperate primal realization that he just wants to live. He's sprawled out in the middle of a busy intersection, a total target for the chaos of the city. Onlookers are swarming around him, shocked to see the guy is actually still breathing after that brutal hit. Someone is shouting at him to stay perfectly still, clearly worried that moving will only make his injuries worse. He's lying there in the cold, staring up at the towering buildings while the world feels like it's closing in. His hand is stained with blood, trembling as he tries to process the sheer insanity of his current situation. He's pulling himself together for one last desperate move, eyes burning with a manic, survivalist energy. The guy looks absolutely wrecked, his face a map of pain and confusion as he tries to keep his cool. A dark, twisted laugh escapes his lips, signaling that his sanity is officially hanging by a thread. He's cackling into the night, fully embracing the madness as the cycle prepares to drag him back under. Wurai is absolutely losing his mind, pinning the guy down while blood stains his shirt. His face is a mask of pure, unadulterated rage as he screams into the void. Those cold, blue eyes stare back at him, completely unmoved by the sheer intensity of the outburst. Blood trickles down his jawline, a grim reminder that this confrontation is spiraling way out of control. He's physically collapsing onto his target, the weight of his trauma finally crushing his remaining willpower. His eyes are wide and bloodshot, reflecting the absolute terror of a man trapped in a loop. They both hit the floor in a heap, the silence of the room amplifying the tension. Memories of past failures flash like jagged glass, cutting through his consciousness with every passing second. A dark silhouette looms in the doorway, casting a shadow that feels like a death sentence. The antagonist watches from the darkness, his expression unreadable as the cycle prepares to reset again. That digital countdown in his eye is hitting 0, and the tension is absolutely suffocating. The school building looms in the background, looking like a silent witness to his recurring nightmare. He's back in the classroom, staring at the sign for Class 22 like it's a prison cell. Someone is lurking in the shadows, their presence felt even before they fully step into the frame. He turns around with that classic, wide-eyed look of pure, unadulterated confusion. He's completely disoriented, his face showing the toll of being dragged through yet another reset. He's sitting at his desk, looking like he's trying to remember if he's actually awake or dreaming. His hand is already moving, gripping a pen to frantically scribble down whatever sanity he has left. The pen scratches against the paper with a desperate, rhythmic sound that fills the quiet room. His eyes are locked onto the notebook, his pupils dilated as he realizes he's trapped again. Wurai is back at it, pen in hand, desperately trying to map out his survival in that notebook. The teacher is clearly fed up, pointing her finger and calling him out for his constant, weird behavior. His notes are a chaotic mess of dates and warnings, proving he's trying to outsmart the loop itself. His hand is shaking, the grip on his pen tightening as the pressure of the timeline starts to mount. He looks up, his eyes reflecting a deep, hollow exhaustion that only someone who's died a dozen times could have. That signature smirk is plastered on his face, but it's totally fake, just a mask to hide his crumbling sanity. The whole class is staring, their faces twisted in shock and confusion as the drama hits a fever pitch. He's hunched over his desk, completely isolated in his own private hell while the world keeps spinning around him. He leans in close, that manic energy radiating off him as he tries to force his reality onto others. Subin just stares back with those icy, piercing blue eyes, completely unmoved by the desperate plea for a truce. That ominous truck door looms like a final boss, signaling another shift in this twisted reality. Wurai is sprawled out in the backseat, looking completely drained as if he's just been through a total mental reboot. He stares out the window with that hollow, thousand-yard gaze, clearly questioning if any of this is even real anymore. Back in his room, he's lying on the floor surrounded by his old books, desperately trying to piece together his fractured memories. A flashback hits him hard, showing a younger version of himself looking up at a smiling, faceless figure. Then we cut to Shin Subin, looking sharp and menacing with that bandage on his cheek, totally unbothered by the world. He stands there in the golden hour light, dropping a simple greeting that feels like a cold, calculated threat. Wurai's face fills the frame, his eyes wide and shimmering with a mix of genuine shock and lingering trauma. A random classmate pops up with a playful, bubbly expression, completely oblivious to the dark tension radiating off the boys. Finally, Wurai forces that signature, shaky smile, trying to mask his absolute terror behind a mask of normalcy. Nam Wurai gets absolutely rocked by a brutal slap from a classmate, reeling from the sudden, unprovoked aggression. He stands there dazed with a fresh, stinging mark on his face, looking completely checked out of reality. Sitting at the cafeteria table, he's being treated like absolute trash by the people around him. They're mocking him with some twisted, three-line poetry, turning his very name into a punchline for their cruel games. The crowd of students around him blurs into a faceless, hostile mass, highlighting his total social isolation. He checks his phone, the screen glowing with the date September 4th, 2018, confirming he's trapped in the loop again. That date burns into his vision, a constant, ticking reminder that he's stuck in this nightmare. Dark, fragmented memories of past violence flash through his mind, showing him the shadows of his own demise. Shin Subin watches him with those cold, piercing blue eyes, radiating a menace that cuts through the room. The cafeteria scene stretches out, a bleak and hollow landscape where Wurai is forced to endure his daily hell. The classroom sits empty and silent, a hauntingly still stage for the chaos that keeps repeating. Wurai walks through the halls, his posture slumped and defeated as he tries to navigate this endless day. He's got that thousand-yard stare, looking completely checked out while his brain processes the latest brutal reset. Back at his desk, he's trying to focus on his studies while the guy next to him is totally passed out. Subin is right there, looking sharp and cold, while Wurai tries to keep his head down and avoid eye contact. He makes a quick exit, slipping out the door like he's trying to outrun his own shadow. On the bus ride home, Subin sits nearby, a constant, looming presence that makes the air feel heavy. He steps off the bus and starts climbing the stairs, feeling like he's being hunted in his own neighborhood. Subin follows him with that icy, unreadable gaze, making it clear that there is absolutely no escape from this stalker. Wurai is sweating and panicking again, realizing that no matter how far he runs, the nightmare just keeps following him. Subin is walking away, his back turned as he ignores the absolute chaos unfolding behind him. Wurai stands there looking completely drained, his face a portrait of someone who's seen this exact moment way too many times. He watches Subin climb the stairs, his eyes tracking the guy like he's a predator he just can't shake. The tension is thick enough to cut with a knife as Wurai calls out, desperate to break the cycle. Subin doesn't even flinch, his sharp blue eyes cutting through the air like he's already bored of the conversation. Wurai tries to play it smooth, acting like he's just looking for a buddy to kill some time with. He keeps the act up, flashing a nervous, wide-eyed grin that screams he's terrified of being left alone. That fake smile is doing a lot of heavy lifting, masking the fact that he's spiraling into madness. Subin just keeps walking, his silhouette fading into the distance while he refuses to engage with the play. Wurai is left standing at the bottom of the stairs, watching his only lead walk right out of his life. Wurai is standing there in his chibai form, looking like he's finally cracked the code to this whole mess. He's sprinting through the dark streets, clearly convinced that he's finally found the path to his own salvation. Back in his room, he's sprawled out on his bed, trying to process these bizarre, fragmented memories of a different life. He's having these wild, delusional daydreams where he's handing over stacks of cash like some kind of high roller. In his twisted vision, he's literally digging a grave for himself, which is honestly just peak dark humor at this point. He's staring into the abyss of his own reflection, searching for any sign that he's still the same person. He's living his best life in his head, imagining he's the one pulling the strings and forcing everyone to grovel. He's playing the role of the supportive friend, acting like he's the one who's been there through the thick and thin. He's even hallucinating a wedding where he's cheering on the happy couple, totally detached from his actual miserable reality. He's tossing and turning in his sleep, questioning his own sanity while the loop continues to tighten around his throat. The night is dead silent, and the urban landscape looks like a total trap waiting to spring. A mysterious figure in a dark hoodie slips into the room, moving like he owns the place. He's checking out the scene, his eyes scanning the floor where a pair of sneakers sits abandoned. Those icy blue eyes lock onto the target, cold and calculating as he surveys the messy living space. He stands there in the shadows, a heavy tool bag slung over his shoulder like a professional hitman. A dark, mocking laugh echoes through the room, proving he's clearly enjoying this twisted game of cat and mouse. He stares down at the mess, basically telling the universe he'll be back later to finish the job. On the table, a cup of instant noodles sits next to some makeup, a weirdly domestic touch to this nightmare. He leaves behind a note with 100,000 won, taunting the victim to actually try and save it this time. The door creaks open as he makes his exit, leaving the room feeling colder and more dangerous than ever. A mysterious girl gets a sudden, chilling phone call that stops her dead in her tracks. She's listening intently, her expression shifting as the voice on the other end drops some heavy intel. Meanwhile, a hooded figure stalks through the dark, urban streets like he's hunting for his next target. He pauses under the streetlights, looking up with a calm, almost serene expression that's honestly terrifying. Back in his room, Wurai is sprawled out on the floor, completely zonked and living in total chaos. He jolts awake, staring at his phone with that classic, panicked look of someone who's seen the end. He's scrambling up from the floor, his movements frantic as he realizes he's already behind schedule. He's brushing his teeth like a madman, eyes wide and twitching while he tries to wake his brain up. He's bolting out the door with a piece of toast in his mouth, sprinting like his life depends on it. He barely makes it to the bus stop, lunging for the doors as the vehicle pulls away into the morning. Wurai is absolutely losing his mind, sweating bullets and wearing a manic, hollow grin that screams total mental collapse. He's packed onto the morning bus, eyes shut tight while he tries to dissociate from the crushing weight of his reality. That signature smirk is plastered on his face again, but it's just a desperate mask to hide the fact that he's spiraling. He glances out the window, his expression shifting as he catches a glimpse of the world outside. There's a suspicious guy standing right by the school gate, holding a wooden bat like he's waiting for a fight. Wurai stares at him with a look of cold, calculated recognition, finally realizing the threat is closer than he thought. He's clearly trying to keep his cool, but the tension in his jaw shows he's ready to snap at any second. He hops off the bus, moving with a frantic, jerky energy as he tries to navigate the school grounds. He's putting on a fake, polished persona for the cameras, acting like he's totally put together and ready for the day. The mysterious man with the goatee watches him from the shadows, his eyes narrowing as he tracks every single move. Wurai is flashing a wide, manic grin that looks like it belongs in a horror movie. He's forced into a brutal physical punishment, holding a plank while his body shakes from the sheer exhaustion. His mind is spiraling as he realizes his body is remembering things his brain hasn't even processed yet. He's struggling to recall the exact moment he finally ditched those piercings, feeling the phantom weight of them. A menacing adult looms over him, his face a mask of cold authority that spells nothing but trouble. He's riding a motorcycle through the streets, looking like a total disaster while the world blurs around him. That same wild, unhinged laughter erupts from his throat as he completely loses his grip on reality. He's collapsed on the ground, his face pressed against the cold pavement while he tries to find his center. The adult denies knowing him with a straight face, leaving Wurai to deal with the gaslighting alone. He's walking through the school doors with a heavy, defeated slump, looking like he's ready to just give up. Wurai is getting absolutely roasted by his classmate, who is busy making some weird, crude comments about his anatomy. He just stares back with a completely blank, dead-eyed expression, clearly having zero energy left to deal with this nonsense. The guy keeps yapping, pointing out how much he looks like the principal, which is honestly a pretty savage insult. He's still rambling on about their past, acting like they've been tight since they were kids. Suddenly, a massive, heavy kick lands right on Wurai, sending him stumbling forward with a loud, jarring impact. The sheer recklessness of the attack is wild, leaving Wurai reeling while the bully just keeps on talking. They're standing in the hallway, questioning why the principal is always gatekeeping the entrance like a total power-tripping tyrant. He just shrugs it off as bad luck, trying to play it cool while his brain is clearly screaming for a reset. The school building looms in the background, looking like a dark, inverted nightmare that's ready to swallow him whole. He's staring at his own shoes, realizing that even his simple, everyday movements are being watched by this twisted system. Wurai is looking absolutely fried, his brain clearly buffering while he stands there like a total NPC. He's shuffling down the hallway with that heavy, defeated walk, just trying to survive another day in this school. He stops to confront the guy, his posture tense and ready to snap at the slightest provocation. His feet hit the floor with a heavy thud, echoing through the empty, sterile silence of the corridor. He ducks into the restroom, desperate for a second of peace away from the prying eyes of his classmates. His hands are shaking as he splashes cold water on his face, trying to wash away the creeping dread. He stares into the mirror, his reflection looking back like a stranger who's seen way too much. A sudden, sharp rustling noise breaks the silence, and he freezes, his eyes wide with pure, unadulterated paranoia. He turns around, his body coiled and ready to fight whatever nightmare is lurking in the shadows. The bathroom stall lock clicks into place, showing that red indicator, a silent, ominous sign that he is not alone. Wurai's eyes are wide with pure, unadulterated terror as he realizes he is definitely not alone in here. A pair of legs steps into his line of sight, moving with a slow, deliberate pace that screams trouble. He looks up to see a guy sitting on the toilet, hunched over and totally blocking his path to safety. The stranger keeps his head bowed low, his dark hair completely obscuring his face like a total creep. Wurai is absolutely losing his mind, his hands flying to his face as he tries to process this nightmare. He tries to play it cool with a fake chibai-style smile, asking the guy for the time like a total weirdo. The guy just stares back with a blank, confused expression, clearly not buying the act for a single second. Those icy blue eyes lock onto Wurai with a piercing intensity that makes the air feel heavy and cold. He keeps up the charade, tapping his pen against his chin while his internal panic hits an all-time high. The phone screen glows with the time, confirming that the first period has already started without him. Wurai's eyes widen in a flash of realization, thinking he might have actually stumbled onto a golden opportunity. The guy in front of him flashes a fake, sparkling smile, offering to keep watch while Wurai catches some ZS. He turns his back to walk away, leaving Wurai standing there in the awkward silence of the restroom. Suddenly, the stall door slams shut with a loud, jarring bang that echoes through the entire room. Wurai goes back to his chibai-style sneaking, trying to act like he's just minding his own business. He stands there in the corner, looking totally defeated while he waits for the tension to break. The guy leans against the wall, looking at Wurai with a mix of confusion and genuine concern. Silence hangs heavy in the air, punctuated only by the ticking of the internal countdown in his eye. He lets out a long, weary sigh, his posture slumping as the weight of the situation hits him. A flashback shows a younger, happier version of himself, a stark contrast to the hollow shell he's become. Shin Subin stands there with his eyes closed, looking like he's completely checked out of this reality. Meanwhile, Wurai is sprawled out on the floor, looking like he's just been through a total mental breakdown. He's shouting for someone to wake up, his eyes wide and frantic as the panic sets in. He's looking at the guy with a massive question mark over his head, totally confused by the weird vibe. They're walking down the hallway together, with Wurai complaining about how deep the guy was sleeping. Subin shuts him down instantly, claiming he wasn't even sleeping in the first place. Wurai is left wondering what happens if he actually enters the space where Subin was lurking. The guy starts pulling out a chair, making himself at home like he owns the entire classroom. Wurai stares at him with a look of pure, unadulterated shock, clearly not expecting this level of audacity. He's spiraling into a hilarious imagination of a bathroom ghost, while the reality of the situation remains just as cursed. Wurai is sweating bullets, desperately trying to confirm if his classmate actually made it home the previous day. The guy just slumps over his desk, completely checked out and claiming he is living for the first time today. Our boy Wurai is staring with wide, hollow eyes, clearly struggling to reconcile these fragmented memories of his. That classmate keeps his head down, his face hidden while he drops more cryptic, unsettling nonsense into the conversation. Wurai is visibly shaken, his hand covering his mouth as if he is trying to physically hold back a scream. The two of them sit in that eerie, classroom silence, looking like two ghosts haunting their own school desks. A close-up on the guy's face shows him looking completely detached, his sharp eyes betraying zero warmth or humanity. Wurai's eye twitches in a massive close-up, the sheer exhaustion of the loop finally starting to show. Suddenly, some loudmouth classmate jumps into the frame, acting like a total clown while the girl watches with zero interest. The chaos peaks as the guy demands a bribe to join in, completely oblivious to the heavy, dark tension surrounding them. The classroom is a total vibe check, with Wurai slumped over his desk while his classmates keep up the relentless, toxic chatter. He wanders into the convenience store, just another day of trying to find some normalcy in this absolute dumpster fire of a life. His hand reaches out to grab a drink, his fingers trembling slightly as he stares down the rows of colorful cartons. That cold, dead-eyed stare of his says everything. He's completely checked out and running on pure, unadulterated fumes. A flashback hits him like a freight train, showing his own twisted, laughing face juxtaposed with the dark, looming presence of his tormentors. The memory is a total gut punch, reminding him of the cruel reality that he's seen as nothing more than an orphan. He's spiraling hard, questioning if he's actually lost his mind, or if the world is just gaslighting him into oblivion. Back in the store, he's still clutching that apple drink, his grip tightening as the weight of his fragmented memories crashes down. He peers through the narrow gap between the shelves, his face partially obscured as he scans the store for any sign of danger. Finally, he swaps the apple for a carton of strawberry milk, a small, pathetic attempt to find some comfort in this endless, recurring nightmare. The crew is acting like total NPCs, dropping casual jokes while Wurai stands there feeling like a complete outsider. He shoots them a look that's equal parts confusion and cold calculation, his eyes scanning them for any hidden agendas. He's checking his phone again, his thumb hovering over the screen as he tries to navigate this digital maze. The search results are a mess of names and handles, a total rabbit hole of potential leads and dead ends. He's scrolling through the list with a frantic energy, his finger flicking past profiles like he's hunting for a ghost. That look in his eyes is getting sharper, the realization hitting him that he's finally closing in on the truth. He pulls up a profile for Shin Se Adong, the digital breadcrumbs finally starting to form a coherent picture. The feed is full of cryptic photos and followers, a digital footprint that screams trouble for anyone digging too deep. He's staring at the screen, his brain working overtime to connect the dots between these random, shadowy social media accounts. A new message pops up, and just like that, the game shifts as he realizes he's being pulled into the conversation. A girl stares at her phone with wide, shocked eyes, clearly blindsided by something she just read. Meanwhile, our boy Wurai is looking totally checked out, complaining that everything is taking way too long. He's watching the kids spin around on the playground equipment, completely detached from the chaotic energy of the scene. He lets out a frustrated groan, his face scrunched up in that classic dramatic annoyance he's perfected. He's leaning back with his hands behind his head, acting like he's got all the time in the world. His hand reaches for the latch, fumbling with the mechanism as he tries to force his way through. He's standing there looking totally bewildered, with a crying little girl clutching his hand like a lifeline. The guy looks back with a dead-eyed, exhausted expression, clearly wondering how his day went so wrong. That poor kid is sobbing her heart out, her big blue eyes welling up with pure, unfiltered distress. He's completely losing his cool, his face contorted in a massive, ugly cry as the situation spirals out of control. The little girl is clinging to him, crying about how she is jealous of his age. She keeps insisting that he is only 2 years older than her, making the whole situation super awkward. He just stands there in his green shirt, looking completely lost while she pours her heart out. The scene shifts to a chibi-style meltdown where she is literally shaking him by the arms. They are walking down the street together, and she finally drops the bomb that she knows his name. She introduces herself as Shinsei, and honestly, the vibe is getting weirder by the second. He is back in his room, acting like he is some rich kid who is way too cool for school. Then we get a glimpse of his silhouette against a flickering screen, looking like he is watching his own life glitch out. He is hallucinating a whole harem of girls who are totally obsessed with him, which is just peak delusion. Finally, he is staring at a social media profile that looks like it is straight out of a digital nightmare. Wurai is spiraling into a weird, delusional memory where he's begging for a sibling. Then he's back in that bizarre, chibi-style fantasy where a girl is obsessively declaring her love for him. The tension shifts to a cold, sharp close-up of a face that looks like it's seen way too much. He's lying in bed, staring at his phone like it's the only thing keeping him tethered to this reality. He tries to laugh off the awkwardness, making a joke about siblings to cover up his crumbling mental state. A blurry, distorted image of a girl appears, leaving him to wonder if his own mind is glitching out. He's tossing and turning in the dark, completely unable to find any peace in this endless, recurring nightmare. His expression is hollow and exhausted, the look of a guy who's officially hit his absolute breaking point. He's trapped in another twisted wedding vision, watching the ceremony while questioning if their conflict is the root of everything. The scene turns into a total circus of insults and applause, proving that his subconscious is just as toxic as his reality. A mysterious girl and a guy in a dark coat stand in a terminal, both rocking sunglasses like they're trying to hide from the entire world. Wurai is back in bed, looking absolutely dead to the world while his phone sits nearby, a silent witness to his mental decay. He's staring into the void with those hollow eyes, clearly haunted by the latest loop and the sheer exhaustion of it all. A frantic, chibi-style dream sequence shows him tossing and turning, his subconscious trying to fight off the crushing weight of his reality. A dark, faceless figure stands behind two kids, holding their hands in a scene that feels like a twisted, broken memory. He's scrolling through his phone, reading texts about how he seems more mature now, which is honestly just a massive, gaslighting red flag. A profile picture of a smiling guy pops up, a stark contrast to the grim, dark reality he's actually living through. Those piercing blue eyes stare back from the screen, looking way too intense and knowing for a simple digital image. The girl is caught off guard, looking at her phone with a mix of confusion and suspicion as she tries to process the weird vibe. A blonde woman in an Osiris shirt shows up, looking way too cheerful for this gloomy urban nightmare. The girl in the hoodie is glued to her phone, casually dropping some toxic shade about how popular someone is. She looks completely absorbed in her screen, totally indifferent to the awkward tension radiating from the people standing right over her. Meanwhile, the blonde girl in the Osiris shirt shuts down the conversation with a cold, firm refusal to play along. The girl in the hoodie flashes a sharp, knowing smirk that suggests she's definitely hiding a much darker agenda. She abruptly stands up to leave, claiming a sudden summons from her mother to escape the mounting pressure of the moment. Her expression remains unreadable and distant, like she's already mentally checked out of this entire social interaction. She bolts up the metal staircase with a frantic energy, her movements quick and desperate to put distance between them. A single sneaker hits the stairs with a heavy, echoing thud, signaling her rapid retreat into the shadows. She locks herself behind a door, obsessing over her mysterious oppa while kicking off her shoes in a fit of restless energy. Finally, she collapses face first onto her bed, completely drained and surrendering to the crushing weight of her own internal chaos. The girl's eyes are locked in a cold, piercing stare, her long hair framing a face that looks like it's seen a ghost. She's sprawled out on her bed in a total daze, looking like she's completely given up on the world for the night. The next day rolls around with that same haunting, foggy view of the school building, signaling another round of this endless loop. A close-up shows a hand gripping a bag strap, the knuckles white with tension as if they're holding on to sanity itself. Two guys are standing in the hallway, looking completely bewildered and lost in the middle of their own repetitive, miserable day. Wurai is rocking that signature red bike helmet, looking like a total dork while he walks through the school with zero chill. His eyes are narrowed into sharp, suspicious slits, scanning the area for any sign of the usual soul-crushing trouble. The cafeteria is buzzing with that low-key, annoying background noise, and he's just sitting there trying to keep his head down. He's caught off guard by a sudden question, his face doing that classic blank-eyed stare while he tries to process the interaction. Then the antagonist strolls up with his lunch tray, acting like he owns the place and forcing his way into a seat. Wurai is absolutely inhaling his lunch like he hasn't eaten in a week, his face buried in the tray. Suddenly, a shadow looms over him, and a voice commands him to sit down like he's some misbehaving pet. He looks up, completely unbothered, and hits the guy with a flat, deadpan refusal that echoes through the cafeteria. The tension is palpable as he stares back, his eyes showing zero fear despite the aggressive energy radiating from his classmate. That classmate doesn't even blink, his sharp blue eyes locked onto Wurai with a cold, predatory focus that's honestly chilling. Wurai holds his ground, his expression unreadable as he processes the sudden, invasive presence of his tormentor. The guy just keeps staring, his face a mask of icy indifference that makes the entire room feel like a freezer. Wurai glances away for a split second, his mind clearly racing as he tries to figure out the next move. Meanwhile, some random student watches the whole scene go down, whispering that they have never seen that kid before. The cafeteria table feels like a battlefield now, with their trays sitting between them like a silent, awkward barricade. Shin Subin stares down his target with those icy blue eyes, demanding to know what the hell is on Wurai's mind. Wurai doesn't even flinch, just keeps stuffing his face and tells the guy to wait until he is done eating. The tension is thick enough to cut with a knife as Subin watches him with that cold, unreadable expression. Wurai keeps his focus entirely on his tray, muttering about how there is way too much food to deal with right now. He uses his chopsticks to grab a massive, comical clump of rice, acting like he has zero cares in the world. Onlookers are completely baffled, whispering to each other about whether the guy was actually starving before this. One of the students looks genuinely concerned, wondering why their classmate has been acting so incredibly weird lately. The girl at the table just stares with a blank, unimpressed look, clearly over the entire dramatic display. Another student reaches out, looking like he is about to snap or start a fight over the sheer absurdity of the moment. Wurai's eyes narrow behind his helmet, his gaze sharpening as he prepares for whatever disaster is about to hit next. Wurai stands there looking like a total dork in that red helmet, while his classmates roast him for looking like a dad at a biker club. He just stares back with that classic, dead-eyed expression, completely unfazed by the mockery of his questionable fashion choices. The conversation shifts to something about soccer, but Wurai is clearly miles away, his mind drifting into the void. His classmate tries to get serious, warning him that things aren't as simple as he thinks. The guy keeps yapping with his eyes shut, acting like he's dropping some deep, life-changing wisdom on our boy. Wurai's eyes bug out in pure, unadulterated shock when he hears that someone actually joined the team. He turns to look at his classmate, his face a blank canvas of confusion as he tries to process this new intel. He just shrugs off the drama, claiming he wouldn't know anything about it while he focuses on his lunch. The two of them stand in the cafeteria like a pair of lost souls, holding their trays and looking totally out of sync. He takes a casual sip of his drink, completely ignoring the intense, questioning stare of the guy standing right behind him. Shin Subin stares back with those icy, piercing blue eyes, his expression completely unreadable and cold. Wurai holds his ground, offering a cup of water with a look that screams total, deadpan indifference. He keeps that fake, polished smile plastered on his face, masking the absolute chaos swirling inside his brain. The Chibai-style version of Wurai looks completely lost, his eyes wide and vacant while he holds his phone. He takes a slow, deliberate sip from the cup, his eyes never leaving the guy standing right in front of him. That intense, chilling stare from Subin continues, his face a blank mask that feels like a total void. They stand by the water cooler in a tense, awkward standoff, neither one willing to break the silence first. A close-up on Wurai reveals his eyes narrowing, the gears in his head turning as he calculates his next move. He stands there like a ghost in his own life, a solitary figure trapped in the stillness of the hallway. A text message pops up on screen, confirming that the obsession with their twisted, recurring dynamic is only getting worse. Wurai watches the mysterious guy walk away, his mind clearly racing as he tracks every single step. He's still rocking that ridiculous red helmet, looking like a total dork while he tries to keep his cool. He lets out a silent, internal curse, his frustration boiling over as he stares at the back of his tormentor. The tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife, his jaw set tight in a display of pure defiance. He locks eyes with the guy, his gaze sharp and unyielding as he refuses to back down from the pressure. That piercing blue stare from the antagonist is enough to freeze anyone in their tracks, but Wurai holds his ground. He stands there looking like a total amateur in his school gear, yet his eyes betray a much deeper, darker resolve. He crosses his arms, trying to project an air of indifference while his brain is screaming for a way out. A sudden, frantic realization hits him, his face contorting into a mask of pure, unadulterated shock and disbelief. He's left holding a bucket of water, watching the guy walk off into the distance like he's just another ghost in this loop. Wurai's face is a total portrait of pure, unadulterated panic, his eyes blown wide as the reality of his situation finally crashes down. A sharp, sudden movement cuts through the air as a sneaker slams onto the pavement, signaling that he's being physically cornered by someone. Someone grabs him by the collar with a rough, aggressive grip, forcing him to stop dead in his tracks while the tension spikes. He's completely surrounded now, trapped in a circle of hostile figures who are looming over him like a pack of wolves ready to strike.